Hello and welcome to Kaleidoscope with me, Savithri Rodrigo. Today on Let's Talk, Harpo Gunaratna, president of the Colombo City Restaurant Collective, shows us how Colombo restaurants are back once again to serve you. Also on the program, think before you throw away those masks. Social activist and social entrepreneur Rai Kali Balthasar on responsible disposal. Distanced weddings. We speak to the founder and managing director of End to End Events, Melisha Yapa, and we say cheers in New York with bartender David Doc O'Connell, who shakes up a cocktail for us in Life in 60. But first, here's your People's Bank news capsule. In May, Sri Lanka's inflation dropped to 4% from April's 5.2%. Most retail goods prices have been dropping as consumers are spending only on essentials, but food prices are moving up. At the Colombo Stock Exchange, a shortened 3-day work week saw the indices drop by 1.6%, while the daily turnover was a steady 1.6 billion rupees. The market has been in recovery mode and has moved up in the past 2 weeks. If you need cheap fuel, Pakistan is the place to go. Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan tweeted this week that Pakistan has the cheapest fuel in South Asia and quoted that Sri Lanka and Nepal are 50 to 75% more expensive. Even though WTI crude oil is still around $35 a barrel, almost 40% lower than it was in January this year, Sri Lanka's price of petrol remains unchanged. COVID-19 has hit Sri Lankan entrepreneurs really hard, and the government has directed banks to help those industries contributing directly to the local economy. In response, People's Bank has slashed their interest rates to 9.5% to support SMEs engaged in agriculture, tourism, exports, and export-related industries. In Sri Lanka, the Central Expressway, the Ruanpura Expressway, and the Elevated Highway are all facing cost overruns. Problems in funding and issues with contractual agreements are expected to cost the Sri Lankan government billions of rupees. Worldwide, designer masks are gaining popularity. Chanel, Gucci, and Louis Vuitton are taking full advantage, and the trikini is now a fashion statement. Sri Lankan designers like Gihane Drivira and Buddhi Batiks have begun making masks fashionable. However, a high percentage of the masks used in Sri Lanka, like this one, are single-use and disposable, and this has now become an environmental hazard. I asked the founder of Cali Reusable Bags and advocate of low-waste living and conscious consumerism, Rai Kali Balthasar, to address the issues concerning disposable masks. How much of an environmental hazard are we looking at when it comes to the increasing use of disposable masks?
Up until we had to deal with COVID, we were having a really great conversation on the environment. We were able to expand on these things, and suddenly, literally overnight, especially for us in Sri Lanka, we now have this conversation, discourse on reusable masks. But are we really talking about the environment at the same time? So the impact is massive. The impact is huge. A lot of people still haven't really got out and gone back to work, and the sense of normalcy of mobility is still not where it was. So the impact is definitely huge, but I think we still haven't seen how big an impact it can be, and I think only the next couple of months will be able to tell us that.
As individual citizens, how can we actually dispose of these responsibly?
I think a lot of focus has been put on how we wear the masks and what kind of masks we wear, whether it's, and I'll just show you examples, whether it's like the cloth reusable type, or whether it's a soft wash type, or whether it's the harder, the different kinds of masks that also provide different or varied amounts of protection. But disposing it is also very important. One is because of the environmental impact, and two is also because your garbage is collected by other people. So I think if you're using reusable masks, I think different countries are trying to approach it differently. But here they recommend that you put it into a different polythene bag and you kind of seal it. and tie it up and then hand it over. But whether that's happening practically is a different issue. Whether people are actually dividing their regular waste, their compostable waste, and then their medical waste is really a problem, because again, garbage collection is slower, and so people are just throwing everything in together. So it's not a very environmentally way in which we are a friendly way in which we are collecting garbage and disposing of it. So we're actually burdening the environment and burdening people around us once again with how we're trying to dispose of it.
Last week, we mentioned the guidelines in place for weddings in Sri Lanka. So what would post-COVID-19 weddings look like? We asked founder and managing director of End-to-End Events, Melisha Yapa, to tell us what future weddings would look like.
With regards to the immediate future for couples who have been planning to have their weddings in the next few months, or the ones who had to kind of postpone it by a few months, I would say that we're looking at very, very intimate weddings. Again, it's different from our general term of intimate, because even intimate weddings in Sri Lanka tend to be around 100 guests. But in this instance, in order to make sure that everyone's safe and they still have the ceremony that the couple wanted, it would be most likely very intimate, immediate family members. There would not be any extended relatives and such. And I would say we're looking at things like home weddings, where people have like it in the small garden, or if they have like a big living room, we change that up a little bit for them to make it a little bit more festive, and host the event there itself. In the future, with regards to next year mainly, right now we're looking at 100 guests maximum, or 40% of the full capacity of the venue, as per the health ministry and the government guidelines. So we would see certain things changing up in that sense, but it can still be done in a very meaningful way to the couple.
Sri Lanka's national cricket team is back in practice. However, the heat got to the players and captain Dimuth Karunaratne had to be treated for heat stroke. If all goes well, Sri Lanka is scheduled to play India in July. Still on cricket, one of cricket's most hallowed grounds, the Oval in England, will reduce its capacity from 25,000 to just 6,000 spectators when it does open up for cricket next season. Virginia Tech in the USA has awarded an honorary doctorate in veterinary medicine to an 8-year-old Labrador retriever named Moose. Dr. Moose received his reward for helping hundreds of students in his line of work as a therapy dog over the last 6 years. Opera The Lifeblood of Vienna returned for a one-night-only window concert in a hotel deserted since the lockdown, when it transformed its windows into opera boxes for opera singer Monica Medek and the Camerata Carnuntum Orchestra to perform in the courtyard of the hotel. News from the land of chocolates and cheese. Swiss politicians have decided that sex workers can get back to business. Prostitution is legal in Switzerland, and the estimated 20,000 sex workers will be plying their trade from June the 6th. The award-winning sitcom Friends will release the Friends cookbook in September, with over 70 recipes inspired by the show. Cuddly news from China. Rolling around, sleeping and eating. 3 little panda cubs born during the pandemic spent their first Children's Day doing just that. Gru and those adorable minions have jumped straight in to fight the spread of coronavirus. Wash your hands, keep 6 feet away, and find fun things to do at home, like dancing, cooking, and being kind to others. Let's Talk is next. Raring to go, revving for revival is Harpo Gunaratne, president of the Colombo City Restaurant Collective, who chats with me at Park Street Muse.
Technology is key in moving forward to transform every challenging moment into a profit, where manual becomes digital, business becomes smart, and lives become smarter. People's Bank Online Corporate Banking. It's truly the change you need.
In Sri Lanka from 1983, we've had war, insurrections, the tsunami, the Easter attacks, and now COVID-19. Disaster after disaster. And one of the most affected industries, the hospitality and entertainment industry. With each new disaster comes new challenges, but now, with COVID-19, it's gone to a completely new level. After being closed for dine-in customers for over 2 months, restaurants are now open, but they're seeing their bottom lines bottom out. Service charge disappear, and now they've had to invest significantly to comply with the new health and safety regulations. We as customers demand individual attention. How can this still be achieved with social distancing? There will be fewer dine-in seats, no buffets, and food individually plated. And we will have to sanitize ourselves and wear a mask. And all this means more work for the restaurateur and added cost. On Let's Talk today is Harpo Gunaratna, the president of the Colombo City Restaurant Collective. We sat for a chat at Park Street Mews and we talked about the changes, the challenges, and what the future holds. So Harpo, you've now been up and running for a little over a week for dine-in customers. How challenging has it been to get this actually going in this last week or so?
See, it's been challenging, Savi, for the last 2.5 months, I would think. But it's something that we have learned to now cope up with, and it's something new to the whole world, this lockdown thing. So it has been challenging from staffing. If we have to take it off, we started with delivery and takeaway. So it's a week since we opened. We had to go through a lot of the process of making the customer feel confident to walk into our property. That is the most important thing. And what are we doing for that? So we have been given certain guidelines to follow with the Ministry of Health, and we had to implement all those guidelines. And at the end of the day, the customer come in and ask you and see whether you're actually observing all these guidelines which have been given, the 1.5 meter distance in the sanitization, the gloves. We have also been made an opportunity for us to create new things as well. So you can see out of this, we are creating new opportunities where you have your menus can come on your phone now when you come and swipe it, and then you have shall I say, disposable cutlery, crockery, disposable menus for that matter. So it's a learning curve for us, and it's challenging, but it's interesting as well.
So like you said, it's been a new experience for you restaurateurs, but at the same time it's going to be a new experience for customers as well. What is your message to your customers?
Our message to them is come, dine. It's going to be a different experience, obviously, and we will adhere to all the regulations which we've been asked to, stipulated by the Ministry of Health, and come and enjoy the restaurants once again. That's the message I'm going to give them. And like I said before, it is that we have to adhere to all the regulations, like the distancing, the gloves, the sanitization. And like I said from the outset, also we are creating new things, new menus coming up. So it's interesting times. It won't be busy properties like you used to see before, because like I said, you have that social distancing problem. So we'll take customers batch by batch in. So we are recommending people to come and make reservations, and it'll be tough to walk in and get a table now because you can't do it.
So what is the message restaurateurs have learned from this crisis?
What we have learned is that we have got a little more grey. Not that I'm not, but actually what we have learned, it's been a very, very tough ride, and it's been very challenging, but I think everyone's adapting to the situation now. And like I said, we have think of new things now, and which is a good starting point actually, because we've got to learn to live with this, until a vaccine is found or something is sorted out. And what we are learning is learning on the move. Every day is a new day for us, so we keep learning, and it's interesting. It's very interesting.
So Harpo, the restaurant industry has been battered on many fronts over the years, whether it's been the terrorist attacks, whether it's been Easter Sunday attacks, or now it's been COVID. It's now more the rule rather than the exception. Given that it is your industry that gets battered all the time, what is it that you can put in place to make sure that you're a sustainable business?
Let's start from the war. We have gone through a 30-year-old war. We went through a tsunami. We went through a JVP uprising. We went through a Easter Sunday. Now we are going through a COVID. So what we are coming out of this is, I think it's going to be a challenge for all of us, and we will have to stay positive. That's the key, staying positive and coming up with new ideas, and giving the customers what they require. That's what's important.
just as a last question, what problems do you foresee going forward in this situation?
You see, we have to have a clear-cut policy also. One day someone says something else, someone says something else. So you have a clear-cut. You have one voice talking about this. So it's very difficult from a restaurant point of view. Where one day you wake up, you get a different story. Next day is a different story. So I would like to see someone who's actually going forward. Someone giving a proper briefing. Otherwise it keeps changing every day. Saying that it has to change also because everyone's learning on the move. So that's what it is. So what do? Let's learn to live with this now.
And while operational costs have increased due to disposable products, disinfectants, sanitizers, masks, and all other health and safety products, the good news is menu prices have not increased. That was the president of the Colombo City Restaurant Collective, Harpo Gunaratna, on Let's Talk. And we come back with Life in 60, where we travel to the Upper East Side of New York to sample a red hot chili pepper. If you like your margaritas, here's something to set you on fire. We travel to the Upper East Side of New York and get bartender David O'Connell, or Doc as he is known, to shake up a jalapeno margarita.
Hi everyone, this is Doc here. I'm going to make you a jalapeno margarita. We have some 4 slices of jalapeno here. I'm going to put them here. We've got half an ounce of lime juice, half an ounce of simple syrup, and we're going to muddle them up. And then we're going to add some triple sec and an orange liqueur. I'm going to put in an ounce of that. And then 2 ounces of silver tequila. In our case, it's Don Julio Blanco. Add ices, shake. And then we're going to do a fine strain. So make sure no seeds are in there. And that is a jalapeno margarita. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Doc. And Doc also tells me that if no jalapenos are to be found, a few of our chilies might do the trick. From Bondurant's on the Upper East Side of New York, that was David O'Connell, our bartender. Thank you, Harpo Gunaratna, Rai Kali Balthazar, Melisha Yapa, and David O'Connell for being on the show. So that's it on Kaleidoscope this week. Please do email us on kaleidoscopeweekly1@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, any feedback, and stories you'd like to see on the program, we would love to hear from you. Until next week, stay positive and be sensible when you're outdoors. Now here's your Kaleidoscope takeaway. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.